Which one you want to call it? I don't know what you call it. Hey, everybody, this is Coach Desmond. Happy Friday to you on that. If you're on the West Coast here, as a matter of fact, I hope you're drying out. Lots of rain on this side. But hey, outside of that, I'm excited because why? This is another episode of Getting Coached with Coach Desmond. I'm Coach Desmond, and today I got a special guest. Her name is April Nolan on that. As a matter of fact, I keep thinking about the name. I think you're from New Orleans, but anyway, we'll get to that later. All right, but anyway, we have, matter of fact, we're blessed right now because we're dealing with a big question: finding love after a divorce, possible? We'll find out on that. So again, I want to welcome to the stage right now. And also, she's a relationship expert. She's an author. She's a seminar host on that, and more importantly, and also, she is a divorce recovery specialist. I wanted to get somebody who knows what they're talking about, and I'm so glad I have here today. April Nolan, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad to be here.
All right, fantastic. Well, April, like I said, the very top of this here, I'm fascinated. I've had you on before. I wanted you to go in and come on back because honestly and truthfully, this is a subject that I don't necessarily hear a lot about, and also in terms of from a quote unquote, instructional perspective. I'm divorced. I'm not divorced, but people may say I'm divorced. I've been divorced for a number of years. I feel like I want to get back out there, but can I? Should I? Matter of fact, and more importantly, how can I ensure that this time is not going to be like the first time? April, take it away, sweetie. Matter of fact, help us here.
Oh man, that is such a good question. I get that question obviously in my line of business all the time. Sure. As a divorce recovery coach. I like to share my own story when they say, can I get back out there? How do I do this the right way? One of the reasons why I got into this business is because in 2019, I experienced my third divorce. Yep. Number 3.
Wow.
And a big part of that was because I did not have a lot of help after number 1 and number 2. I had counseling and I had therapy, which were all good things, but there was not anyone there to really say, now what do I do? Right. I've been divorced a couple years. How do I get back out there? And so I found myself kind of in this relationship pattern that I didn't recognize until after the third divorce. And so the biggest reasons why I got into this work is because I wanted to be the help that I did not have in this space. And so the short answer is yes, you can find love after divorce, but there's some things you got to do to make sure it lasts.
Okay, matter of fact, let's got to get into this. But before we get into this, matter of fact, I came across a report by the CDC in 2021. And since you're the expert, I'd love to go ahead and get your perspective on some of these numbers. Now, everybody has heard, divorce rate in America is around 50% in general. But here's something I thought was very interesting. For first-time marriages, and also there's a 41% divorce rate. Second-time marriages, a 60% divorce rate. And for third-time marriages, a 73% divorce rate. But wait, there's more on that. So, matter of fact, this is interesting. Divorce, but the study also said divorce among Christians, those of the Christian faith, Catholic and evangelicals. The divorce rate is 28% for Catholics and 26% for Christians, which honestly, I kind of took that as a little bit more encouraging because I've been hearing that, divorce rate's the same as, matter of fact, the United States, but it was actually lower. But nevertheless, we have that. And then as we complete this report, this is something I found very, very interesting. Those couples with strong religious beliefs coming into the relationship, both the husband and the wife, or the whatever you want to call them, all have, matter of fact, when you come in with a strong, matter of fact, Christian beliefs, your relationship or marriage has a 14% likelihood of success, and also as opposed to a couple which has no religious affiliations and no foundations in the faith. These are some serious numbers here as well. As a relationship expert, but most of all as a divorce recovery specialist, how do these numbers jive with what you're seeing in the field?
Yeah, that report, I would say, is indicative of what we're seeing in society. So I'll address the first set of numbers, how you have this increase, I guess, risk, right, of divorce as you continue to remarry. And I'm just going to say this, y'all. I'm going to preface this by saying this is what I've seen through my studies, my experience, through my clients. So On that, it really goes back to what did you do in between those divorces? One thing that I have heard from people, and many times people who have never experienced divorce, is that there's this feeling that divorce is the easy way out, right? I have not met any person who has woken up and just one day decided, today I'm going to leave my spouse.
Wow.
Not one. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
So it is not an easy process. However, the question is, what did these people do in between divorces to make sure that they were healed, to make sure they were not getting into the same type of relationships? That's the questions I would be asking, because as someone who's been divorced 3 times, I can tell you that not one of them was easy. Not one of them that I just wake up and this is what we're doing. It was months of talking and trying and, until you get to this place where one or both of you make a decision.
Got it. Yeah.
So I would say for that number, it doesn't get easier, but if you're not healed, it's almost like having a broken arm, right? You break your arm and you don't really get it fixed, but it just kind of heals in this broken place. You can still use it, but it's not fixed, right? So then you do something and you hurt that arm again, where it just breaks it even more, right? And then you do something, it breaks it even more. So now you're carrying these broken pieces along the way. And so it does get a little harder to pick or choose what I believe is a better partner match, not necessarily easier to get divorced. Does that make sense?
Matter of fact, it absolutely does. All right. So I wanted you to come on board, because obviously we got a lot of individuals right now wanting to get back into this. And the big question is, and again, I guess this will kind of dovetail off what you just said here. How can I, is this even possible? Divorce proof the next relationship? Talk about that as well. The second time around, what we should be doing better so we can basically reduce our likelihood of failure and increase our likelihood for success.
Right. Well, let me say this. There is nothing we can do that will guarantee we will not get a divorce outside of marry someone who is also guaranteeing not to divorce. We are humans, right? We can only do so much to control ourselves. We're marrying another person. And so there's nothing that we can do to say, I guarantee I'll never get divorced. Now we can divorce proof it. We can put, a little safety around it. One of the things that when I was starting this work specifically around relationships about 4.5 years ago, I talked to some of my friends who were marriage therapists, marriage counselors, right? And I would say, what type of issues are you seeing? What are you counseling people on? And one of the things that they kept telling me was, we are counseling people on not marriage issues, single issues. And what it is, these are issues that weren't dealt with when the person was single. Now they're married. And now we're dealing with these issues because they're exacerbated by being married. And so my solution, my antidote is to ensure that you have resolved your issues. You have healed in your single state before you get back into marriage 2, 3, 4. I've counseled people 5 and 6. And so, a big part of what that looks like is it's a long journey of self-discovery. It's a long journey of understanding who you are, who you want to be with, right? Not who your parents want you to be with, or who your pastor wants you to be with, or, all these different things. And so it really starts with you doing the work and creating your best single life first. And then getting
that's good. All right, April, this is great, guys. For those of you guys just joining in right now, this is Getting Coach with Coach Desmond. I'm Coach Desmond. This is amazing, April Nall, and also, and more importantly, right, Frank, she's a divorce recovery specialist, and she just hit on something pretty amazing. Breaking news, guys. And also, this isn't a divorce or a couple issue. This is a single issue going on here. Give me some of those examples of those things that need to be fixed in our singlehood before we start now coupling up or booing up, if you will, with others on stuff. What should we making sure that's fixed first before we even attempt at, matter of fact, getting into a relationship? This is amazing.
Absolutely. Some of the things that we want to look at is clearly understanding who we are. Many times when I coach people, they got married in their early 20s. They're now in their 40s or 50s, and they just had no clue who they were when they got married. right? Not to say that that was the sole reason their marriage ended, but they didn't know who they were. And so the first thing I would say is embark on this journey of self-discovery. And that's just finding out things like, what do you like to do? One of the things I asked my clients in one of our first few sessions is who are you? Tell me who you are. And a lot of times it's been, well, I'm someone's mom or someone's ex-wife. Well, no, who are you as a person? So understanding what you really like. Clear example of this. There's a movie that I love. It's called The Runaway Bride, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so in the movie, towards the end, you know, she kind of meets her dream guy and he asked her, like, how do you like your eggs? And so she starts running down this list of how she liked eggs with these different men that she was with. And then come to find out, I think at the end, she was like, I don't even like eggs. And so it starts with self-discovery, facing the facts that there may be some things that we are doing that are going to keep us from healthy relationships. I'm fully transparent. My thing was I had an issue with rejection and a lack of self-love. And so I would date people that I would stay with them because they simply weren't rejecting me. They weren't good for me, but they weren't rejecting me. And what I thought was love that I was receiving for them, that for a period of time was filling that hole of self-love, right? But eventually my issues would start coming out. And so there's some facts that we have to face that somewhere along the line, we had a choice, we had a decision, we had a part in this. And so really self-discovery is where it begins.
Wow. Matter of fact, and how best would you recommend someone right now who is single, or in this case now divorced, and they're looking to go ahead and do better next time? What steps should they be taking to go ahead and make sure that, hey, listen, or better yet, how do I know that I still have work to do, or that the work is completed and now I'm ready?
Yes. Well, let me address something you just said. Is the work completed? The work will never be completed. We're humans, right? We're always healing. We're always growing and developing. But there's a term that I heard that I love, and I stick by this, but there is a time where you can become healed enough. And what that means is you are healed enough in certain areas to start that new relationship, right? So I'll meet women who will say, how do I know when I'm fixed, right? There really is no fixed, but it's a continuous journey of healing.
Wow.
Now, how do we do that?
Right.
We ask for help. I use this example. My daughter is a basketball kid. We live, breathe, eat basketball. And she tore her ACL about a year ago. Okay. So she had a trauma. Heartbreak is a trauma. It is a emotional trauma that we have to get resources for. So when she tore her ACL, we had the emergency room, we had the surgeon, we had physical therapy, we had basketball trainers, we had her coach. We even have a basketball psychologist because mentally it was hard. It's hard for her to get back on the court because I'm afraid I'm going to tear it again. I'm afraid I'm not good enough. So we had this team for healing. It's the same when we have a heartbreak. We need a team for healing. So this can be coaches, counselors, best friends, spiritual advisors. This could be going to groups, hiring a coach. All of these people together is what helps you puts the pieces back together, almost like a puzzle, right? You don't have to do the puzzle by yourself. Ask for help. And that's the number one thing that I see people miss. You know, I can do it on my own. No, you can't.
Wow. Matter of fact, what an excellent example on that. We'll get to specialists for a cancer. We'll get to specialists for an ACL, but we're going in alone here. And matter of fact, and let me ask you this, and also how much, matter of fact, how much more difficult is it when you still have people who basically reject the notion of seeing a therapist, psychologist, or even a coach based upon cultural matter of fact, ideas or mindsets? You know, I don't do that because I don't want anybody. I'm not getting a therapist because I ain't crazy, you know, or whatever situation is for. Are you seeing people open up more to that, or is that something that you still find people are having to get over just to even get to a place where they can allow themselves to get the help they need?
One thing that I can say is that the time that we are living in, I believe getting help for things like mental health challenges, things like that, it's more common. You know, it's more open. One of the things that I still see people of color, you know, you don't tell your business, right? So I'm not asking for help because I don't want
Yeah.
anyone to know my business, or
Exactly.
I don't want anyone to know I failed.
Mm-hmm.
People of faith. I was raised in the church. I've worked at 2 churches, so I've been on staff. My last divorce, I was an employee of a church, and there is kind of this narrative around where if you just pray, it'll be better. Well, you need to pray, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But there are also, like I said, those specialists that I believe have been designed to help us through these things.
Wow.
And so there's 2 groups of people. There is that group that says, well, I don't need help. And then there's that group that says, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. I had a friend, a client, and I'm not going to say her name, but she's okay with me sharing this. We met a couple years ago at the beginning of her divorce. And we met, I think, once or twice. And it was kind of like, all right, I got it. I'm going to, go it alone. Well, she called me 2 years later and she's like, I still have not done,
Wow.
these things that I believe I need to do to be ready for my next relationship.
Wow.
And so I just think that there's power in numbers, right? There's power in numbers. And so it's really huge to get that team together.
April, what I'm hearing is, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this. When your daughter was experiencing, and you guys got the psychologist and the specialist, you guys were taking the injury seriously. Is it a true sign that someone is not taking their heartbreak, their relationship, their whatever seriously when they decide not to get help?
I don't believe that they're not taking it serious, but we as a society have just been told that dating and breaking up and heartbreak is just kind of this part of life, right? And it can be. We're humans, you can get your heart broken. We don't recognize it as a trauma that it is, right? It's your heart got broke, cry about it, get over it. But we don't take a moment to go back and say, how did I end up in this situation? Because if you look at the narrative on social media, celebrities, it is just the norm to get into a relationship. Oh, we broke up. Get into another relationship. Oh, we divorced. Get into it. It's this cycle that's almost, normal. Why does it have to be normal?
Yeah. Matter of fact, and in fact, also, guys, for those of you guys joining, I'm Desmond Blackburn. This is April Nolan. Matter of fact, you're joining us in addition of Getting Coach with Coach Desmond. We're talking about basically, is there life? Are you able to find life after divorce? Is it possible? And I think the answer overwhelmingly, but we got to make a few tweaks on that. This is a great part of the conversation here, because I wanted to go ahead and ask this. Matter of fact, it's really about expectations, isn't it? Because right now you mentioned a good part, and also it seems like with everybody now jumping into relationships and jumping back out, it's now almost kind of being branded as the new normal. Like that's the way things are supposed to go. How important is it to have the proper expectation? And do we have it?
I can't speak for everyone, but if we live our lives through things like social media, the media, things like that, then there is no expectation in putting effort into a healthy relationship. We'll put more thought process and effort into how we're going to pack for vacation than we do on how we're going to choose our next partner. Depending upon the circle that you're in, it's really not heavily on, am I choosing the right person? It's, are they cute? Were they taking me to dinner? I'm not going to get into the debate, but the whole Cheesecake Factory debacle and, debate that happened on social media. At the end of the day, what does that have to do with a healthy relationship? One of the things that I learned through my life experience, through talking to others, is that no one really taught us how to date, right? We should be putting just as much effort into finding a healthy relationship, being prepared for a healthy relationship, as we do with choosing our careers, with buying a house. We will research our car for weeks to make sure it's what we want. But a lot of times we'll put less effort into who's a good match for me spiritually or financially or all these different things. And so I think we've just not really been taught that there's just certain things that you need to do to prepare for a healthy relationship.
Wow. As a matter of fact, amazing advice that we're getting here. And also April. So now I am curious on that. Are we seeing, even with Mefek, is it younger? Is it mid? Is it older? Is it an age thing that really kind of quantifies whether, we're going to have enough wisdom to get into a relationship? Does age matter at this at all? And also, is it will? What's some of the X factors that a lot of people don't consider that they should, that will basically lead to at least a healthier relationship, or at least a healthier understanding of what it takes to have one?
It's, and I can really speak for the audience that I work with, which is typically people in their late 30s to late 50s. So 30s, 40s, 50s are the group that I speak to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that it's necessarily age, but a lot of it is just life experience. Life experience will somewhat shape how we approach relationships. Right. So think about it. If, you've got the person who hasn't dated a lot, they may approach a relationship completely different than someone who has had several intimate relationships or marriages. Factors like our family, whether we saw healthy relationships or not. There are people who, if they grew up in, a dysfunctional home, may say, I don't ever want a relationship, not knowing that that's not what every relationship looks like. And so I don't think it's so much age, but experience, which also dictates our expectations.
Wow.
Part of it too, depending upon what community, if you grew up in a religious community, any religious community, right? Almost every religious community is going to have some sort of rules, or whatever you want to call them, around dating, relationships, and things like that.
Right.
One of my favorite shows to watch is like the Indian Matchmaker, right?
Yeah.
And you see all these couples who, they met on their wedding day and they've been married for 50 years, right? So is that the science? Is that the expectation?
Right.
But culture, experience, upbringing, all of those things play into our expectations.
Wow. Well, April, as always, bringing the heat, and I appreciate it. That most of all, some very amazing advice here. And also, April, obviously you got a lot of work to do in this area, and you got a lot of people that makes you reach out to you. Talk about what's next for you, what's coming up. First of all, how can people reach out to you on that if they want more direction and more advice from you? What do you have coming up, and how can we get involved?
Absolutely. So you can find me anywhere with my name, April Nowlin. That's my website, my social media handles. If you're someone out there who's saying, I don't know where to begin, I don't know where to start, reach out to me. I do a no-cost consultation. We'll just talk. It's not a sales call. We'll just talk about where you're at, what your goals are, and if I'm a good fit to help you get there. I know that not every woman grows the same. And so I offer individual coaching, group coaching, live events, virtually events, but I'm super excited. So in March, I am launching a relationship coaching community. So it is called When Love Comes. And it really, I want to help ambitious women to be prepared when love finds them. Wow. And so, it's a virtual community where you'll be able to ask your questions. We'll have live Q&As, live events. I'll have experts in there, but it's kind of a safe space, right? For women to come and talk about some of these things, talk about the stigmas and the pitfalls and all of these things in a safe space.
Wow. Absolutely amazing on that. This is fantastic. And I believe you even have a live event that you put together and all stuff, which people can actually come to. Talk a little bit about that, and hopefully that's coming up soon.
Yes. So I'll be launching very soon. I do an event every year, and it is really for those women who are experiencing heartbreak. We talked about earlier getting help. So, if you're a woman who says, I've either been divorced, I find myself in these, habitual unhealthy relationships, and I just don't know where to start. It's a live event. It'll be in September this year, so stay tuned for the date. But what I do is I bring together a group of experts, and we just talk about how to move on. So to give you an example, our theme last year was freedom, right? It was freedom from our past to be able to move on. And the year before that, it was relentless, right? Because we don't give up. And this year, we're going to be focusing on taking off the labels. So, when we go through heartbreak, there's so many labels that we have placed on us. And so our focus this year is removing all of those labels so that you guys can move forward.
Wow. Wonderful. April, thank you so much for joining us, my friend. And also, you're absolutely amazing. I love the work that you're doing. And most of all, I love the lives you're changing, not only as an expert, but also you're living out loud. I mean, you're living your truth. You're matter of fact, and most of all, matter of fact, as you've gotten healed, and also, and you're also helping others get healed as well. Well done. Guys, you've been watching another edition of Getting Coached with Coach Desmond with my special guest, April Nolan. Thank you so much. Guys, if you have any questions about what you've seen here, post it in the comments. Love to go and see that. Also, too, if you know someone who say, hey, I think they can benefit from this conversation, go ahead and please share that with at least 3 people on that and get a chance to stop keeping this good stuff all to yourself. Go ahead and spread that love. Until next time, guys, we'll see you. You guys take care and God bless.